er vist noget galt her. We've known each other since we started, both of us. I started with Nicholas Vinterberg, and he started with Thomas Bo Larsen, who's in the film, and with Ulrik Thomsen. So there was kind of clubs. He had one club, we had one. Last from Trier. And I think that's how we created little families that wanted things. And at that time, it was unthinkable that we could work together. You know, like young competition people, right? As we grow older, I guess we realize, hey, it's nice when you open the club and you start working with each other. So, but he went away after Festen, celebration. He went out in the world, started filming. I was back home. He got home, I went away, and all of a sudden we met again. It's rare that you read a script touched by reading it. I mean, even if it's a good script, there's so many obstacles in the actual fabrication of the script that kind of makes it a little on the upside. But this one just drags you right in, and I had the feeling very early in the script that I got so angry. There's something getting frustrated reading it more and more. And I liked everybody. I couldn't put my anger anywhere, so it was just an intriguing thing to read.
Well, in a way, this started in a scientist world, in the world of a psychiatrist or psychologist. This guy who knocked on my door and gave me some cases to read back in 2000, I think it was, or 99. And he said to me, if you did Festen, you have to do this one too. It's and I didn't read it for 8 years. And then I needed a psychiatrist myself, and I read it out of politeness. And I realized that somehow this material, these cases, like the one in the film, are the antithesis to Festen. I was here in '98, claiming that parents are cruel to their children, and now I'm here claiming the opposite, okay? And I guess reality is somewhere in the middle. This was the beginning of this film. This is the beginning of making this film. Slowly it grew into become its own independent little film about lots of other things, larger things, I think. For me, this film is very much about friendship and love. It's about togetherness, and it's about the loss of innocence. The same loss of innocence as we have experienced in the world, or at least I have. See, when I grew up in the 70s, I grew up in a hippie commune and there's naked people around me, okay? Genitals in eye hiding. And I now see a world which has become more fearful and cold and paranoid. Of course, we also know why. There are a lot of kids suffering from child abuse. We know that. We all know all the cases. But now there are also a lot of other kind of victims, and this is what this film is about also.
Hvad er det, siger? Jeg kender en lille pige, og hun lyver ikke. Det har hun aldrig nogensinde gjort. Så hvorfor skulle hun lyve nu?
Sindssygt eller hvad?
Hvis du har rørt min lille datter, så får du en kugle. Lige i panden.
Your director, Thomas, says that your character in the press kit, your character is, I quote him, typical Scandinavian modern man.
Yeah.
And he had castrated. So what do you think of that?
Well, that's Thomas saying that. I don't know if it's so typical Scandinavian. Maybe it is. I mean, maybe we have been through all the equalization with women's liberation, and for that reason we have a hard time finding our own little place on the shelf. I think men are still men back home, but we also tend to try to solve everything with our heads now, instead of doing it the old-fashioned way with no. And so he's a mix of both things. I mean, he does go out and kill animals and he can fight with the boys, but he wants to have a solution on the problems where he's doing it intellectual way. This is a character that I can recognize, but not in me, but I know other people who are like him, meaning a person that has a hard time saying no, a hard time, putting his foot down. but actually hopes that that life will ease everything out and people, his friends, will understand him and everything is good. Me personally, I would have done something very much sooner than he's doing it, but he is eventually being pushed in a corner where he has to react. So spend a lot of time figuring out why is the points where he will react. He has to. But when is it? Is it now? Is it now? We talked a lot about it and we changed it several times. But we ended up gathering everything in one single scene, which is in the church. But we also have a scene before that in the supermarket, but that's not the same reaction. The church, he really, really takes his life back. This is my place. I am allowed to be here. I have done nothing wrong. He's very stubborn. He could have left, but he does not want to.
Here's a guy insisting on being civilized. Okay? For me, civilization is verbal, non-violent. And he's almost like a Christian, Scandinavian, civilized human being. He's fighting very hard to maintain that. He's very stubborn. So when he does this headbutt, as it's called in English, we're all very satisfied. But in a way that's worrying, because it's completely uncivilized. But I totally understand why. I would have done it long before myself.
Kom nu, vil du sige noget til mig?
Hvad laver du, mand?
Vil du sige noget til mig?
Hold op, Lukas.
Vil du sige noget til mig? Hvad? Kom nu!
Hold op, Lukas. Tag det roligt.
Hele byen står og hører på dig, mand.
Tag det roligt, ikke?
Sig det!
Tag det roligt, Lukas.
Psykopat!
Hold mig af, Lukas.
Så kom! Hvad vil du sige, mand? Hvad vil du sige?
Stop ham!
Everybody talks actually from Submarine and now with this movie of a comeback. But of course, I guess your point of view, because you've been doing movies during this 10 years, it's not a comeback. So how do you receive this appreciation from the press or talking about?
But basically, saying that it's a comeback is an insult, because it claims that I was not here and that I was gone. Okay. But I'm okay with that, because here is a story about Thomas Vinterberg, and then next to that there's my real life, and those are not similar. I had great 14 years, and I'm actually really proud of some of the movies I did. Not all of them, but some of the movies I did over those 14 years. It's All About Love is, for me, the richest movie I've done. It's dysfunctional somehow, dramatically, but it's very rich and very courageous, and in moments very poetic. And so I had a really good time. I had to explore different ways of movie making. I had to abandon the realistic way of movie making. I have to leave it, because I felt with Festen that I had completed it. I felt I had finished. I was like, voila, here it is. This is my way of making film, and there was nothing more to do. So I had to sort of go to extremes in other directions to find out other possibilities. And it's like now I'm back and can do movies from where I belong, I guess. I did not have any ideas coming from other movies. I had, a certain atmosphere. I always watch Fanny and Alexander before I make a movie, and this sense of the orange light in the blue darkness is very much coming from there. I also looked at Festen, actually, because I was doing the antithesis. What else did I look at? I don't remember. But there was no specific ideas that Haneke actually is an inspiration to me. Maybe I have sometimes a very deep-felt wish to tell the truth. I sometimes destroy situations by saying what it's all about, and I offend people, but I can't help it. Since I was a small child, I did this. I remember being in a public bus with my father, 5 years old, and my sister. And the bus is full, and this big fat drunk head comes in and he asks my sister to get off so he can get the chair, the seat. And I got really angry. I was boiling. I couldn't help but being very angry. And my father said some stuff about him, which he may have heard. The bus empties slowly, people leave the bus, and I go behind this guy, and I knock his shoulder and I say, "You're stupid." And then he gets up and knocks me down. And the bus goes to the side, and the police arrives. And my father, who's an academic and a small guy, tries to fight this person. But it was me getting in trouble by saying the truth. And I've been in trouble a couple of times for that. But I tell this story because there's an echo in the main character from that.
Du skal ikke høre på, hvad de siger, Magnus.
Det er min bedste mænds datter, det ved du godt, ikke?
Jeg tror på børnene, Lukas. Det har jeg altid gjort.
Men for helvede, du har ikke gjort noget. Det er dem, der er blevet syge i hovedet.
Smut hjem med dig.
Kan du så ikke hilse mig og sige, at han ikke skal handle her mere, og han skal heller ikke bede dig om det?